Thursday, April 8th of 2021. This is our regular city council meeting for the month of April. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is to do the Pledge of Allegiance, so we will stand and face our flag on the wall. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, if you'll call roll, please.
Councilmember Chong.
Present.
Councilmember Sean.
Present.
Councilmember Benson.
Present.
Councilmember West.
Present.
Let the record reflect that Councilor Bosenberg is absent tonight, but we do have a quorum to conduct business. With that, I see any changes to the agenda.
No changes.
I seek a motion to approve the agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Benson,
Second.
second by Trom. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Our sheriff is not here. We'll get him in as soon as he arrives. So item 6 is the mayor's report. Not much this month. I do want to give a big thank you to everyone that was involved in the fire station project. We are officially moved in. I know we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the agenda as well. I extend that to every donor, former council member and mayor, Charlie McClintock for as far as he got us, the fire department for all of their work with fundraising, as well as Public Works for, I know it was a big project, and everything that went into babysitting it and making sure we did our walkthroughs. I know the fire department was well engaged in that, so this council for all the support in making that project happen. So it's been a long time coming, and I just want to thank everyone for that. It looks great. I see them flying out of there already just in the last few days. So great asset to the town, and I'm excited to see that we've been able to make that happen. So that is one. And the other is I just want to make sure everyone is aware that a couple of residents who we thank for this have stepped up and organized some townwide garage sales. So it is currently scheduled for April 30th through May 1st. I believe that is a Friday, Saturday. So if you weren't aware, there will be townwide garage sales on April 30th and May 1st. That is all I have for my mayor's report, so we'll move on to council reports. I'll start with Council West.
Nothing.
Nothing? Mr. Benson?
Nothing.
Hester?
Nothing.
Joe?
Nope.
All right. Perfect. Item 8 is our citizen comments. So we have two types of comments in the city of Alburnett. We have agenda-related items and non-agenda-related items. So we will start with agenda-related items. If you do have a comment, please state your name, your address, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak. So if there are any public comments on agenda-related items. Hearing none. Any public comments on non-agenda-related items? All right. Ends our citizen comments, and we move on to written reports. Chief Graham.
We did buy a printer yesterday. I'd like to see if the council buy one computer for us, and we'll buy the other one. I don't know if TJ has prices on them. We were discussing it earlier, but I don't know what the price would be.
I think one of them I was looking at was about 400 before tax and everything, so, but it was an all-in-one.
So just for everyone's benefit, that's the actual computer piece is essentially attached to a monitor.
Yep.
But it all in
Yeah,
one.
everything's within the monitor.
Okay.
The one that is currently there is pretty much running outdated. It's unable to run multiple things at once, like 2 or 3 things at once, and getting to the point where it's going to be difficult to put calls in without taking forever. So.
Approximately 400. You've got budget for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that, clerk, or is that just something you can? Okay. Sounds like we'll look into it for you. Anything else? You make your announcement on your open house?
I don't know if we do that now or later.
Oh, that's right, that's later on the
Open house
agenda.
and
Oh, getting ahead of myself. Getting ahead of myself. All right, any questions for Chief Graham? All right. Move on to Public Works.
Only thing that has come up in the last day or so, I have over the past couple of weeks gotten some complaints about the dust at the city shop from the people who live close, not from two people, with the traffic, people bringing brush in and out and dust, etc. I called M&K Dust Control. We did it in 2018. We put down soil oil. It was just a hair over $2,000. She said it's gone up slightly. It'd be $2,200 to do the same square footage if we wanted to do it again. I was surprised to hear that they could do it right away. We had to wait till August in 2018 after contacting them in May. She made it sound like it could happen anytime, so it was too late to get it on the agenda, but throwing it out there. I told her to put us on the list because I didn't want to get that scenario of not getting it till August and then it's almost useless, but it does last 2 years. We probably should have put it on last summer, but with the way the summer went, it just didn't work out. But it basically does control it for 2 full years at that $2,200 level. So it could be that they don't get here till after our next meeting. It could be that they show up. So I don't know how you want me to, I mean, I can call her and say, we gotta wait till next meeting unless you feel like you can approve it now if you wanna do it, so.
I agree with him, it's a dusty mess, and it did make a difference when we did it, 3 years ago.
I see no reason not to do it now.
Take advantage of being on the
Right.
front end of the list.
I'm afraid, like what you said, if we don't get it, it'd be terrible. There isn't much sense waiting till we're just Alburnett.
Yeah, right.
Okay, you need formal approval on that? or-
Yeah, probably that's technically over the amount I can go ahead
I make a motion, we approve up to $2,500 for dust control.
I'll second it.
Motion by Menson, second by Shantz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, any questions for Guy? All right. City Hall report.
I don't have anything to add.
Any questions for Daniel? So just as a heads up to the council, we did send letters for outstanding sidewalk payments. This has kind of been one of those things that's been dragging out. The last letter we sent was in early 2020, and we gave them the letters were sent pre-COVID, and we gave them a March deadline, and then decided to be lenient on that when the situation hit. So we've sent new letters to those that are not following any kind of payment plan and given them through the end of April. So depending on the results of that, you will see action on the next agenda as far as approving, sending those amounts to taxes. So just a heads up on that. Alright, last call, any questions on written reports? Perfect. That, we move on to the consent agenda. Are there any additions?
I think I uploaded the 329 minutes on the town club, but I forgot to put it in the packet, so. If anybody needs a copy, I have those.
No additional bills or anything?
Oh, you can pay that bill for that valve one. You received it today. Unless you've already paid it.
Okay, I have not paid it.
Okay, we got it today, so.
Was that
Highland
Salt or
Fire.
Standard?
Highland?
Time? Okay.
Alright, with no changes, I would seek approval on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Shantz.
Second.
Second by Menson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. New business. Once I find new business here. Alright, resolution 2021-01, budget transfers for FY '21. Clerk, want to give us an overview?
Administrative budgeted transfer for the need to transfer funds from one fund to another to be able to utilize them appropriately. Most of them are for GO bond payments to the debt service account. I put a list in there of all the transfers. Again, these were already approved in the FY '21 budget. it's just administrative in nature, to do the resolution to approve before we can move the funds, so.
Any questions? I would seek a motion to approve resolution 04-2021-01.
So moved.
Moved by Trum, I'll take Shantz as the second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next is setting the FY '21 budget amendment public hearing.
Just looking at our FY '21 budget and where we're at, looking at some items that we need to amend. We just need to set the public hearing to, review and approve those budgeted, amendments, and I have the notice listed there for you, so, we had some unanticipated expenses due to the derecho. We also had unanticipated revenue from the CARES Act funding for COVID, so those are reflected in there, and then the majority of the, need for the amendment was because of the fire station project and just not knowing when all those expenses were gonna hit. So we had initially budgeted $830,000 for the fire station project, and we've already exceeded that, so we're, needing to amend to update those expenditures.
Alright, I would seek a motion to approve setting the public hearing for our next council meeting, which is Thursday, May 13th.
So moved.
Moved by Menson,
Second.
second by West. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Floodplain Ordinance. I will let Danielle speak because I think she's the one that got directly contacted, but I will also say we have heard from the Iowa DNR as well as FEMA directly that our floodplain ordinance needs updating, and if the risk, if we don't, is that we would not, if should a flood happen, we would not qualify for FEMA funding. So, I believe the DNR actually provided verbiage that we can use, or the edits that we would need to make to our current ordinance. And both of those have been provided to you. Danielle, anything else on that?
No, we pretty much covered it, we just, it has to be done, by July 1st, so if we amend the ordinance, or if we refer to the DNR's changes within our ordinance, we still are on that timeline for ordinance amendment, so we wanna just get going on it so we can comply with the changes needed.
So, in my opinion, and this was stated in the email that we received from the DNR, the changes are rather extensive, so it may behoove us to just adopt their version, and then we know we're in compliance. But I will leave that to council's discretion whether they want to amend or replace. Is that what we're looking at?
Correct.
I'm good with going with the DNR's language.
Okay, is that a motion to replace with the DNR's?
Sure. I'll make a motion.
Motion by Menson to replace our floodplain ordinance with what is provided by the Iowa DNR.
I'll second.
Danielle, I have one question. What you gave us from the DNR, is that the actual ordinance, or is that just the amendments?
Those were the ordinance amendments that we would have to make to ours.
So,
How would you know?
is,
Are they the ordinance, or is it the amendments?
Those are the amendments.
so,
So we would have to, well, what does the actual ordinance say?
I guess I didn't put it in the packet.
Would be kinda nice to know what the
That
actual,
might be nice, yeah.
why don't we table this till next month?
You're gonna run out of time. If you change an ordinance, you're gonna have to have, I mean, you still have to do readings, so you can't push it too far is what I'm saying. Cause,
well,
I mean, you can waive readings, you can get it done.
Yeah.
Just don't push it too far off.
no, but if we address this next meeting and push it, will that make our timeline?
It should, if we can get it done by June, at the June meeting.
You'll have to waive all the readings. Which,
But it'd be
which
nice
is
to
doable.
read, not, we
Be
need to
nice
read
to
what
know
we're
what
gonna
it's
do
doing.
before we vote.
I apologize, I thought I had that in there.
Or would it be possible to get an ordinance, copy the ordinance for the next meeting and we can approve it?
Yeah, I'll put it on there and I'll get them both so you can
That way then,
look at it side by
will
side.
that eliminate the crunch then?
Right,
Any chance we could get that in the next week or so,
Yeah,
so we can
absolutely.
walk through that?
yep,
And for May, we would still have time to get that done.
yeah.
There is a motion on the table, so I would seek a second.
I'll second it.
You got a second by Wes.
Oh, did Wes second?
Yeah.
All right, okay, I take that back. So motion by Benson to replace with the Iowa DNR ordinance, second by West. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Well, I think we're.
Wait a minute.
I know, but but we have to take action on the motion, so
Right,
I don't think you wanna vote for it.
I
Justin.
want to say nay.
Yeah, I'm voting nay
Okay,
on the ordinance. I
That's fine.
brought up.
I just wanna close out, we had a motion, we just had to close it out,
thank
so.
you, sorry.
Right, so anybody say aye? All those opposed say nay?
Nay,
All right, motion fails, thank you.
that's the first for me.
You made your own motion?
Yep.
Upon further discussion. All right, 11D, Resolution 04-2021-02, setting the date for a public hearing on proposal to enter into a general obligation refunding loan agreement and to borrow money thereunder in principal amount not to exceed $275,000. That's a lot of words. Essentially, we are refinancing our current general obligation bonds, correct?
Correct, so one of our bonds had a higher interest rate, so we reached out to Spear to see if it would be advantageous to look at refinancing with the current market rates that they have, and they took a look and said that we could potentially save around $15,000 if we refinanced it, including the costs of refinance of issuance. So there's documentation there that lays all of that out, our current rate, what the proposed rate would be, and then there's a schedule for the bond issuance timeline. And Spear also did mention that, they would be interested in talking to a local community bank, because it's just a smaller amount of issuance, that they feel like that would be the best route to go. And so, that was the way that they suggested that it be facilitated, but it made all the other things still the same and the need to move forward with this timeline.
So in summary, we're refinancing the current bond with the potential to save $15,000 or more by doing so.
Correct.
Alright. On that note, I would seek a motion to approve Resolution 04-2021-02 for the refinance.
So moved.
Moved by Trump,
Second.
second by Shantz. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, old business, ECI COG Capital Improvement Plan. We have Adam with us here tonight from ECI COG. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you making the trip.
Thank you, Mayor.
So Adam, myself, a couple of members of council, as well as Karen from ECI COG met last week and went through the capital improvement plan, all the feedback that we got from council, as well as staff and the fire department. And we were able to come up with, I think, 13 goals by combining like items and eliminating a few that we either already accomplished, like the fire station, and a few other things. So now it's everyone's turn to have fun. And Adam, I can turn it over at any point. We are looking now to move on to the next step with this plan and really keep on schedule, where we are going to ask council to do some prioritization based on what we have put together. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So,
Floor is yours.
if it's okay just to do a little
reminder in terms of timeline and what we've already done. You talked a little bit about it, but just to kind of give you guys a timeline of where we've been so far and kind of where we're at. And we went over this with the committee as well. There you go. So back in January, I think it was January, ECOG came over, Karen came over and kind of talked a little bit about goal setting and capital improvement plans. And so we collected all of your survey responses and put those all into an Excel spreadsheet and worked with Guy and Fire Chief here to create some descriptions around those items so that the committee that the mayor referenced could kind of narrow down some of those items, but then get ready to prioritize them from the council's perspective to go through a prioritization process. We actually have the document pretty much, the narrative's kind of almost already done. A lot of it's already built, so now we're kind of trying to get some of the projects prioritized. Just as a reminder, a capital improvement plan, capital improvement projects are projects that are anywhere over $3,000 that last over a year and are typically your one-time expenditures. And the idea behind having a capital improvement plan is that sometime within that time frame, 1 to 3 years, which is what this plan covers, it just provides a roadmap for staff and for policymakers to be able to kind of identify what projects did we prioritize as important and hopefully help you budget in the future to accomplish those projects. Goals can be community goals, organizational goals, that sort of thing. And so we've kind of combined, and you'll see this in our document when we're done, you will see kind of a combined goal, they'll be separate, but combined goal and capital improvement prioritization list. So this is the priority, this is the goals and the priorities this is the survey, sorry. And so we're asking each council member to fill this survey out, and you'll see 3 different ways to do that. So the first way is, there's 3 ways to do that on this Excel spreadsheet. There's, let's see if I pull it up here.
While you're doing that, we're gonna pause and get our sheriff's report
Yep,
here.
go ahead.
So that'll give you a second
bet.
to get loaded up.
You bet.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Did you get the email?
Danielle, did you get an email?
No, my email is not working, so sorry.
Okay.
Gonna be a short report.
It's gonna be a short report.
So sorry.
I think it was like required, whatever is required.
43 required.
43 required, and it was like over 100 and some. My email's working, so I'll pull mine. $127 and 13 calls of service, mostly school resource, and a couple traffic stops, and a medical.
Perfect. Any questions for the deputy? Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
safe night.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Stay
it.
safe.
Thanks.
Very helpful. All right,
Okay.
back at it.
So you'll see on the first page, we have a couple of different ways to think about each one of these goals. So this is your goal list: remodel the old fire station, that's obviously been talked about. Maybe updating the city's comprehensive plan or downtown revitalization plan. Some of these general goals have costs, some of them don't necessarily have costs associated with them. But one of the things that we'd like you to do is to, in your own mind, judge what the impact of that goal would be on the community. And we say low impact, 1, 5 is the high impact. It could be an impact to the community. The other would be effort. We would like to know what your thoughts are on the effort in order to accomplish that goal. So again, on a 1 to 5 scale, how much effort do you feel like it would take to accomplish that goal? And that's effort, and I know you can kind of define effort how you want, but we do kind of want to get we will graph these out to show you how this kind of looks on a bubble chart, how this looks as a visual to see what projects are deemed to be of a higher value potentially to the community, but also require a significant amount of resources. It's just another way to look at each one of these goals in a different way and judge it visually. And so
the other way that we are asking you to prioritize these goals is on the last few pages. And I suppose I'll cover the capital improvement plan here too. So the first part is the goals, and then we have the CIP, capital improvement. And these were generated based off of the comments that you all had, and I guess the committee met. But we used some of the narrative from Guy and to fill some of these in, along with some estimated pricing. You'll see things on here that probably won't look all that out of line for you in terms of amenities for maybe a new fire station park, reconstructing 3rd Avenue. Those are all things that I know the community's been thinking about and talking about. So the scoring system on page 5 and 6 is a way to judge each project, each goal against the other. And so it's a little complicated, so I kind of want to run through it a little bit. So when I ask you to do this, you'll start with column 1. This is the first, where am I? This is the goal. Yeah, this is for the goal list. So you would take the fire station and you would compare it against goal 2. Which one do you feel like is more of a priority for you? You would circle that. So if you felt like the remodel of the fire station was the more important goal, circle 1. Then you'll do the same thing, 1 to 3. Circle which one you think is more of a priority. And you will do that all the way down till you get to the last goal. Then you're gonna switch columns. You've already circled 1 or 2. So now it's time to judge 2 or 3, 2 or 4, 2 or 5, so on and so forth. And at the end of that process, you're going to get to a total number of circles for each project. So for 1, how many 1s are circled? That's the number you should put there. For 2, how many 2s are circled? So on and so forth. And that's a way for every council member here to judge each project, prioritize each project, and each goal. And I think it just gives a good comprehensive look and gives you an opportunity to kind of think in your mind, well, is this more of a priority against this? And it's really, we had thought about doing a scoring system where you just kind of assign a number and then we'd average the numbers out. But this, I think, is a much more comprehensive look, and I think really does do a good job of focusing on what your priorities would be for projects and goals for the next 3 years. So we are asking that, and it's kind of a quick turnaround. If you notice the timeline that we provided, we are trying to get this done for the community and the draft approved by the council in early May. So we do have kind of a quick turnaround, April 16th, to have these either to me or to Danielle. And then once we have this information, we will be able to we'll be able to send a draft to the committee that met. Hopefully we can do some tweaks and modifications and then submit to the council for your approval for a CIP, combined CIP goal list for your planning for the next 3 years.
Before I turn it over for questions, thank you, Adam. I have gone through this prioritization exercise, and it's super effective, more so than just trying to number your things from 1 to 13.
We may steal it.
Yeah, I hope you do. It's fantastic. You really give it some thought. So step through them. You will. The downside to this is you're going to end up with some ties, and that's okay. And that's where, when this is all said and done, we may come back as a council and say, okay, we had 3 things that fell, and your ties are going to be in the middle, right? Your top ones are going to fall out, and your bottom ones are going to fall out. So in that middle range, we may have to come back as a council and say, okay, of these 3, let's give them a rank. Let's just take a vote and say they're in this order. So that may be one extra step we have to add in, Adam, but I think that can be done, through email or whatever that is as well. So, yeah.
And at the end of this process, you'll have some architecture around some of your community goals and council goals and organizational goals. And in the document itself, it's not necessarily a plan that we just want to put on the shelf. That happens a lot. It's a plan that I hope that City Council can ultimately use as a way to check every year to see, what have we accomplished, have we gotten this done, and so on and so forth. So.
And in 2 or 3 years, we add new goals and we go back through the scoring process and see where things fall out. And we may have one that landed in the middle now and it ends up at the bottom later. Like it's all gonna work its way out. So I'm excited that ECI-COG is helping us get started on this. I think they're a great resource and we appreciate their expertise. They were great during the working session. So now I'm gonna be quiet and see if you have any questions.
How's page 6 different than 5? Go through that. Between the conversation and trying to read this, I'm not figuring that out.
So the first page is for the goals on, the goal list.
Yep.
And then the last one is for the capital improvement list.
Same process.
Same process, no difference.
Okay.
Yep,
They're two separate prioritizations. So we're prioritizing goals and then we're separately prioritizing those tangible CIP initiatives, the infrastructure stuff. So you get to do it twice. You get really good at it.
I'll get a free cup of coffee.
coffee, bourbon, you know.
I better have the coffee.
I mean, good judgment, Adam, good judgment.
That's right.
And when do we turn these in?
I'm hoping for April 16th is the due date, because we are trying to get it done, but I mean, you know, it's, I understand that there may be other things. And Karen may have explained to you in January that this is a little bit of a pilot for us. We are just sort of getting into council goal setting and strategic planning, and so we are learning along with you in some of this too. Trying to learn our process, so we can go to other cities and provide a similar service.
Councilor Schwanz did just point out there is one error. We have 13 goals, one of them didn't get numbered, so just move all your numbers up after number 9. Just shift your numbers up so we can get to 13. On the actual goal list, Adam.
I see.
Okay.
Oh,
Now I
yep,
have.
Easy enough.
gotcha, okay, yep.
So there are 13. And you'll have to number your CIP. I must have missed that, my apologies, but that's a much shorter list. Alright, perfect. Well, if there are no other questions, just a reminder, we will be looking for this returned by the 16th, which is, what, end of next week?
Yep, Friday of next week.
Alright, so you got a full week, and we'll make sure Danielle sends reminders on that. Scan an email or drop off hard copies. I don't think Adam has a preference.
Nope, no preference.
Alright,
Thank you.
thank you very much, appreciate it.
Yep.
And again, I have gone through this, so if anyone feels stuck or they don't quite feel like they know what they're doing, give me a holler. I'm happy to walk through it. Alright. 12B is the library service contract. So you do, in your packet, you do have the proposed contract with the Centerpoint Anderson Library, as well as you had our the current contract with Metro Library Network. I will say that Danielle and I met with representatives from Metro this week, just as a good faith to kind of touch base and talk through and see if there are any other opportunities to help land this on their side. And we just weren't able to really make much headway on that. I appreciated being able to meet with them. And, you know, I gained some insight and hopefully they were able to hear a little bit more of our story. We did share the presentation from the public forum as well as the link to the video. I got an email from them today, so kind of late breaking news. They did come back and offer to hold our current contract at what would have been our 2020 rate. So it is approximately $31 per capita. They are willing to hold that through the end of this contract. There is no mention on what would happen when that contract renews. So as you think about this, we are currently comparing $31 per capita, which is about $20,000, just closer to 21, versus what we've calculated the Centerpoint is at about $12 per capita, if we're going to talk apples to apples there. The Centerpoint one is still based on assessed value. I think we talked last time, so we did build in a base rate just to ensure that they're getting a fair amount, even if we have impacts such as the TIF like we do next year. I think next year is probably about the only time that that base rate's going to come come into play, because otherwise we're growing and we're gonna see our taxable valuation above that $8,000, so. That is what I know. I will ask if there are any questions regarding what's happened since last meeting. All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the library services contract with Centerpoint.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Menson,
I'll second it.
second by Shantz. Is there any discussion?
Did I overhear you say were there any minor changes to this since from earlier?
Just small changes. So the base rate of 8,000
Okay.
is the biggest change in there from before.
Rather than a formula, you plug in 8,000.
So it's 8,000 or the 30 cents per thousand, whichever is higher.
Okay.
So most years they're gonna get the 30 cents per thousand, but next year that was only gonna equate to about 6,500.
Okay.
So we wanted to be fair, given that that was kind of our snafu with the budget next year. And then small things, they built in a payment schedule with certain dates, just very small administrative things otherwise. Great question. So, one thing to note with the Centerpoint contract is there's no end date. It is a perpetual contract, so that will just continue until either party chooses to terminate, so that rate will continue as well. Similar to what we did with the Township 28E, we built in a clause about changes. This was one thing that the lawyer came back, the lawyer was concerned that Centerpoint could terminate only to come around and increase that rate. So we built in a clause that essentially that would qualify as a change, and both sides have to mutually agree upon changes. So that helps with that concern. And both our lawyer as well as Centerpoint's lawyer have reviewed and approved. So this is final contract. Centerpoint has their meeting next week, so that is when it will be on their agenda. So any motion would have to be contingent upon their approval. Any further discussion? Questions? All right, there is a motion on the table, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are you going to abstain?
It's with Centerpoint.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, I have to abstain, sorry, I do, because they're part of the Metro Library.
What's that?
Is it legal for him to make the motion?
All right, well, we are gonna back
I
up.
don't care about him either.
Sorry, I didn't think of that, they are part of the Metro, and Marion's part of the Metro, and everybody knows I work for the city of Marion, so I need to retract my motion.
All right, the motion is
Sorry,
been
start over.
retracted, that's okay, it was good discussion.
Thank you for that.
Yes,
Should the motion be to cancel or move forward with the contract with Centerpoint and then cancel the current contract?
yes, let us rephrase, so that worked out that Brian's fell through, so.
Woo!
I
That's
would.
two!
We're on a roll.
You're good for this one.
I would seek a motion to approve the library services contract with Centerpoint contingent upon their approval at their meeting next week. And once approved by Centerpoint, then terminate the contract with Metro. Is that right, Danielle?
Yes.
Okay. Effective July 1. That is the motion I will seek.
So moved.
Moved by Shantz,
Second.
second by Trump. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
I have to abstain, conflict of interest with my employer.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you all for dealing with me twice tonight.
Learning and growing.
I know.
discuss current rates and need for a rate increase. So this has been something that we've gone around, it's hit the table a couple of times as far as, we haven't had a rate increase in a couple of years, quite a few years, and we consistently are not covering expenses. And that we'd like to look at getting on a plan that has small increases over time so that we don't have to make big increases when we get 5 and 6 years out from the last time we made an adjustment. You do have a sheet in front of you. Danielle's been doing some research on neighboring towns and what their rates are. I don't know, I didn't see this in the packet ahead of time, so I've not had a chance to really look at it, so I'll let you speak to it. Tonight is just kind of a discussion to kick off this process and get us thinking about what those next steps are, and I think you actually have someone coming in to help as well, so I'll hand it over to Danielle.
So I reached out to the surrounding communities and put this information together. It's a little bit hard to review some of their minimums because a lot of the cities have garbage attached, so I took out the amount that they gave me for their monthly trash fees. And then the per minimum usage amounts differ, so you kind of have to take that into consideration. And then I did get some feedback that a couple of the cities are looking at their rates and potentially going to increase as well. And then a couple of the other cities are on perpetual increases, so these are just their current fiscal year rates, but they do have increases built in every year. And then there's a nonprofit organization called the Midwest Assistance Program, and they help with municipal rate studies, and so I've reached out to one of their workers, and she's been getting some information from me on our current rates and our current number of accounts, and she's going to help us through analyzing this process and looking at what would be best and what that potential increase would look like.
So is she gonna look at it based, how much money do we need to generate just to cover operating expenses and debt service? And come up with, I mean, this is fine, whatever they're, I don't know what they're doing, but we need to look at our expenses. Is that how she's gonna look at it?
I believe so. She didn't ask for any other city information. I just had been asked to gather this from the other cities.
Okay.
But as far as I know, that's the
Method?
review that she would be doing,
Okay.
is just internally. And I know, you know, we're talking about budgetary items and expenditures. We're talking about how we can save money here, and then we're talking about potential increases for the water rates. But I just wanna remind you all that with the fund accounting, the proprietary funds, which are the sewer, stormwater, and water, they're all separate, so they all have to be maintained, and there's rules and regulations about making sure that we do cover those expenditures based upon the rates that we're charging.
Plus some cushion, right?
Right. And our water fund pays one of our bond rates for one of the
2009 project, I believe.
So will this person be here within the next month, so you have more information for the next meeting?
I should have more information. I don't know what the timing looks like. It's a free program that they offer
Okay.
to assist, and she's just been gathering information via email, so I will find out more details and definitely have more at the next meeting for you.
I think that would be good. I'd like to know exactly how far we need to go to have the impact that we need to have, so I'm glad that you found that resource. Any other questions, discussion? This is just a discussion item tonight.
I'd just like to make a comment, it'd be nice if we could get this radio so we could institute it the first of the year. So it'd be nice if we would just keep traveling on here. That way then if other cities are gonna increase the first of the year, we would have that information too.
I'll see what other information I can get from
We've
them on
got
that.
about a $20,000 shortfall. And I think that I wouldn't advise bumping the rates up enough to cover that all in one jump. Let's try to do it over, say, maybe even 5 years or whatever. That's for another discussion, for another day. But I think it would be quite a step to step there all in one shot.
Well, and I think we've got some more lots sold, so hopefully we're gonna get some new services hooked up as well, and that's gonna help cover some of the gap. It takes a while for that to really add up, but. Alright, anything else on item C? Perfect, thank you for your work so far, Danielle, we look forward to what we continue to learn. 12D, fire station project update with many, many sub-bullets, so. We're just gonna open this one up.
Well, I guess I'll start out by saying we had kind of a final walkthrough today. Counselor Trum was able to come, the chief obviously, and the bulk of the punch list has been completed. There is a few ongoing things. It's actually mostly related to doors and locks. There's one plumbing item, couple of electrical items. It's really, really down to the nitty gritty. And there's some overhead door issues too, I guess, that need to be finished out. But there is nothing major. A lot of punch list items got knocked off in the last month or so. It really, really is looking good out there and nearly complete. There's obviously going to be things that the fire department finds out they need or to change as they live there a little bit longer, but it's really, I'm happy to see them all spread out and not banging into each other, so that part's pretty awesome. Any questions about how it's going or anything like that?
Has everyone had an opportunity to step through it?
No.
I looked directly at you. Good job there.
As mentioned in my report, we'll be getting busy trying to seed some grass and doing a little sodding, and I haven't been able to have a conversation with Bluegrass yet, but I'm hoping maybe they'll be able to help us out in some way, shape, or form with that project and get a little recognition on their behalf if they will, so that's my hope. And we'll have that place green as well as red and gray here pretty soon, so, and then decide as we go forward. One other thing too that we should add to our think about it list, we've got grant money for, that we decided was gonna be in the form of a trail. I'd say as soon as we could get a sidewalk in from Longworth to the fire station drive, we should do it. And then take steps to maybe extend it further. But one thing I would like for you to think of is width of that sidewalk. The Hendersons are responsible for a 4-foot sidewalk along that property, but if we want to make it 6, which I think we would, especially now with the purchase of the UTV with a 6-foot snow blade on it, that would be, you would technically say that would be Henderson's job to clear that snow, but if we're going to designate it a community trail, I feel like the city could probably do the snow removal on that chunk just across their property. But think about that, I guess. And then also, if we have funds left over that we can extend it further, where are we gonna go, again, width, and et cetera. Once we figure out how much it costs to get from Longworth to the driveway, then we need to do a little figuring out where from there. So just another new item to throw on your thought schedule.
The sidewalk out to the trail is what, 8?
8, yeah.
I was just thinking we should go 8, because you get a 6-foot blade and a 6-foot sidewalk, you know that don't work.
Yeah,
It really doesn't.
Yeah,
And
Well,
7, I would say 7-foot minimum.
yeah.
Do we have room for that?
Yeah, I feel like, I've got a little more work to do in that ditch, but yeah, an 8 would work. We'd have to transition it from 4 foot that's at the intersection already to that 8-foot sidewalk, but, yeah, in the end, I see no reason. 6 would be a minimum, but 8, I think would be, when you think about families walking on a trail and meeting each other, which is hopefully what happens out there if we get that park developed, an 8-foot trail is just gonna be the most logical width, so. But that means it takes more money to get less feet, so that's the only consideration.
Yeah, I guess before we would decide on that, I do wanna kinda, what are we gonna do out there, you know? How far are we gonna take this?
Yeah.
Because is it gonna be a trail to nowhere? You know,
Yeah.
cause I'm sitting here thinking, what if we just did 5 foot, which is like an ADA minimum now, so that's another thing to think about.
Well, it's 4-foot city sidewalk up until that point where we would start this thing, so just going to 5 would be amping it up. If we got that much done, at least to the parking lot, you got acres practically of concrete, you know, thousands of square feet of concrete in the parking lot that people can walk on essentially. It does really matter then probably where you go from the west edge. What is the park gonna look like? Where do you put the sidewalk? How wide, et cetera. And we're ways off from that at this point. The big thing would be from Longworth to the fire station. So,
Is that grant gonna be large enough to cover a 7 or 8 foot out to the station?
what's that now?
Well, that grant, I know there's,
Oh.
what, 14 grand or so in there?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it's gonna cost you to build a sidewalk out to the,
It should easily cover that, especially knowing the Hendersons are responsible for 4 feet worth of it. So if we only went 5 feet, we would have a foot worth of sidewalk for that 120 lot depth. And then we'd have the 5-foot sidewalk from where their lot ends to where the concrete for the driveway starts. So 14 would easily catch it.
And then we could maybe look into going west, I guess, first I'd like to see what that's gonna look like, what we're gonna do. Not that we put a sidewalk just to nowhere and in 5 years we tear it out.
Well, and I know that you've looked for you're looking for sign ideas, right, from Corey Cooper. I mean, even though there's all that concrete parking out there, we could, depending on what you guys decide to do for a sign, because there's conduit out there in between the driveways, you know, you could run sidewalk between the driveways too, and maybe make it integral with the sign, so to speak. You know, pour a pad for the sign and have the sidewalk skirted or whatever, you know, that's something to think forward to too, once the fire department has an idea of what they wanna do. Maybe there's a tie-in there too. So, yeah, just wanted to throw that out there, start thinking about it.
The other item is the community room with the rental policy and the price. Danielle, were we pulling things together, and did we ask the lawyer for a rental agreement? Was that the next steps on that?
Yes, those are the next steps.
Okay. Danielle and I will take lead on that and hopefully have you a proposal by next meeting, so we can start looking at renting that space. And then we'll coordinate with the fire department as well, because I know you guys have assets in the kitchen and some of those common areas, so we'll just make sure that everything's covered.
Some other towns have this type of thing, we could check with them and see what they charge.
Yeah, a lot of area towns do. Yep. We started pulling together center points and
Yeah.
some of the others, so we'll definitely find where that lands. Part of the conversation there is some of them have price for residents that's lower than non-residents, and whether that'd be advantageous or if it's just more work on our side to keep track of, that type of thing. So we'll come back with a proposal at the next meeting and make that a priority. All right, and open house. Chief Graham, your turn.
May 8th from 11 to 4, we're gonna have an open house out there. It's gonna be like a fire grill too, we're gonna do burgers, brats, hot dogs. But everybody can come out and take a tour.
I'll be there,
Alright?
Uh,
hopefully.
Saturday, May 8th from 11 to 4
Yep.
at the new fire station.
I might even bring you a housewarming gift. You never know.
Alright, so hopefully we can all make it at some point during that time. And the last sub-bullet is signage, monument, pavers, etc. I know we've been talking a lot about, not even necessarily the sign up front, but dedication signs. We had quite a few significant donors, what we do to recognize them. So I don't know if we have a game plan yet, or if anyone would like to volunteer to kind of take the lead on doing some research on that. I know part of the discussion with the derelict building grant at the last meeting and the potential to repurpose, if we end up demolishing the fire station, is do we repurpose those pavers and use those as, use the bricks from the old fire station as the monument out there. So may not be something we action right now, but it'd be good to have a plan. The dedication plaque, I think, is something we could get working on, so.
And placement, is it
Is it gonna
indoor?
be inside the building or outside?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a question.
That's a question, that's right.
Well, I'd bring that up, didn't I? I got all kinds of questions, no answers.
We can do some Googling on that too and kind of see what
I'll
standard is. And
I'll text Corey tomorrow and Corey Cooper and just throw the bug out. Hey, what have you seen this before? What have you done? I'm guessing he's done something like that before,
Yeah.
perhaps?
what does it say? What do you?
Yeah.
I'm not even entirely sure where to start. The donor one, I think if we do end up taking down the old fires, I think it'd be pretty cool to reuse the bricks. So I'd like to maybe get a little further into that project so that we get ourselves in a corner a different way. So that's another open one. Anything else on the fire station project? Any questions, comments?
Did you wanna do a ribbon cutting that day, or another day, or?
We definitely
Not
need to do
doing
a
it all?
ribbon cutting.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll be available that day. I think I'd have to check I think we have a baseball tournament and I never know when we're gonna play until day of, so, we may have to do that for a different day. It'd be nice to do it ahead of time before any kind of open house, so.
And it'd be nice to make sure all the players, former Mayor McClintock, it'd be nice to make sure he could be here for that and et cetera, so, yeah, maybe we could do a late April,
Or an evening weeknight, whatever.
something, anything. It's gonna be probably more about press than getting public there. It'll be more about having the right people to be in the picture and having, yeah, now the days are longer. You could do it at 7 o'clock at night and still have light, so.
This next meeting, the 17th, I think, I don't know.
In May?
No, in April, the Lincoln letter's coming, to do an article about it,
Oh, your next fire meeting.
our next fire meeting. So,
Okay.
it'll be, I don't know when it'll be published or anything, but it'll be coming, and
That's the 17th.
I think, so.
Well, we could maybe shoot for that.
Or
No,
the
that's a
third Monday is whatever that is.
Night.
Night, that's close.
That might be a good one to shoot for. Alright, we'll see if we can get that coordinated.
Did you guys wanna hold your May meeting at the fire station?
Oh,
Just mine?
I mean,
yeah,
That's a
so-
good
I
idea.
mean, it'll be after the open house, but you guys funded it, I mean. We're gonna go to the old station, the old.
Mike, pass on that.
Trip down memory
Been
lane.
there, done that.
Great ideas, I love it, so, appreciate you reminding me.
Hey Steve, have you heard anything about the possibly tinting those windows?
That's
Or
not gonna happen.
it's not gonna
I
happen?
made that discussion today. And they say void the warranty, but then they say go ahead and do it. So we're not gonna do it, because our luck,
It was more.
something would happen, so
Okay,
That might happen.
we're just gonna get blinds for them.
okay.
Now is, through that warm weather, did it get hot in there? Was
Yes.
it just
Just
hard to
gets hot.
see? Was it
It gets
cold?
hot.
Both.
Hot and
hard
hard to see, yeah.
Okay.
I was wearing sunglasses the other day at, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6
I
o'clock
think
in
you
the
just wanna look
afternoon.
cool, but
Well, that's it. But no, it definitely gets probably 20.
Okay.
it is freezing in there today.
No sun and,
Yeah.
yeah, cause you got used to it being warm, sure. Cool.
Alright, perfect, it's very exciting, lots going on. Alright, last item under old business is the mask mandate policy. I think we just left this on here from last time it was part of my mayor's report, I think. The vaccine is now available for everyone as of this past Monday. However, that doesn't give enough people time to actually get it, and you have the second dose, so we'll just leave this on here as kind of a recurring thing that we keep an eye on. I think I'm gonna speak for myself in that I'm kind of anxious to get back to normal, but we need to do it at the right time, so I'm I'm not asking for anything tonight on that, we'll just kind of leave it as a standing item. And with that, we'll go around the table for any final comments. Councilman Trump.
Nothing, please.
No?
Not at this time.
Brian, anything you want to say and take back?
Those two motions, I already took them back, so we're good.
Councilor West? All right. With that, I seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Menson,
Second.
second by West.
I was waiting for you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, we are adjourned.